Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. I'm your host. In this episode, we're going to be discussing Venezuela and how that playbook and all the moves that they're making in Venezuela to refusing to surrender to the election results to the will of the people could, in all possibility be duplicated here inside of Canada. Now, I know many of you are going to say, well, you're being a conspiracy theory, you're worrying too much. They would never go that far. But I want you to think about all the times that they've gone that far when you were telling yourself that they would never go that far. I mean, they put the army in the streets because a bunch of people were parked in their way and making noise that was getting on their nerves. They wouldn't even talk to them. They put the army in the streets. And then anybody that supported them, they canceled their bank account. They froze their assets and canceled their car insurance. Basically leaving them stuck in the house with no way to buy any groceries, no way to get to the grocery store should they live anywhere else. And so those two things alone are enough of a totalitarian maneuver to make me worry about any election results. And let's be straightforward, the amount of corruption, there's a lot, and yet shamefully and unabashedly, these liberal minority government just stand there, right? All propped up by the NDP. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying we could look at this and see what might happen. We can look at this as a template or as an example of what we might be up against should the liberal government refuse to surrender control. All right, before we get into it, I would encourage you all to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this channel with all of your socials. I have an open GoFundMe so that I can buy a better camera. And I have memberships if you wish to support the channel that way. However, any support that you give me, I appreciate. Just to give you a little backstory, Venezuela is a country that many will argue has the world's largest oil reserves. In 2013, it felt like there was a social divide of the haves and the have-nots, which prompted the people to elect a socialist who was a bus driver and a man of the people. He promptly took the economy and put it into the toilet, which has resulted in 10 years of stagnation. There was at one point, inflation was 130,000%, which means you would it's called hyperinflation, right? You'd go to bed and a loaf of bread would be $10, whatever they use in Venezuela, and you'd wake up and it would be 130,000 times that. That led to shortages of food. It led to people running out of the country. And what's interesting is that the only people that the Biden administration ever tries to stop at the border are people from Venezuela, because they don't want Venezuela to say, hey, listen, we know that socialism is terrible. By all accounts, the leader of the opposition, whose name is Maria Machado, won the election by like a landslide, like 70%. And when I look at some of the videos that we're going to look at here in a minute, I have to believe that there's something not right. The pure number of people that spilled out into the streets is staggering, to be honest with you. So I'm going to open with this one, Joe Robert, where he shows how a group of people are standing at the end of what looks to be like a police station. And there's maybe 50 guys there with guns and vests and loudspeakers and, I don't know what else, against what it looks to be 2,000 people. And, I appreciate that the guys with the guns have all the guns, but that's important for you to see the juxtaposition of how a very few number can threaten a bunch of number, as long as one side doesn't have any firearms, as long as one side doesn't have the weapons or the ability to defend themselves. However, this is a fire burning at the end of a major road in what can only be described as one of the poorer regions of the city, right? They don't build them up on the side of the mountain like that unless they're people without means, right? And these are police, military, having a running gun battle. They're hiding behind walls because people are taking shots at them from that mass amount of buildings that's there, the high density that the police are hoping to hold back, because of course it's a two-tiered culture, right? Those that have and those that have not. Now, save the best part of this clip because, you know, there's a lot that could be said. Maybe it's one way, maybe it's another way, maybe it's two different sides of the same coin. He said, she said, they said, all of that stuff. This last clip, though, is staggering when you look at it in its juxtaposition. I understand an image when I see one. And this is a big city, right? It's probably Caracas again. And look at the size of the crowd. Just look at it. Those are overpasses and highways. Those are, you know, 3-4 lane roadways. The amount of people that have come out into this city to say, hey, we don't believe that you won the election. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't care what they want to say. If there were people who said, you know what, I don't agree with, I voted for Maduro. I think the guy's awesome, super duper. There wouldn't be this many people out in the street. People don't succumb to peer pressure like that. They'd all be hiding in their apartments, but they're pissed off. They're like, we have had enough. You've got to go. We don't care what the election is. And so now we look at a position where they're like, I don't even care what the election is. We got to get you out of here. And the guy's like, well, I have the right to hold on to it. So let me put my army in the streets, which causes civil war. Now, you know, the players, you know, start to come out of the woodwork. Who's going to give them this? Who's going to give them that? Where did the criminal gangs come in? Where does everybody happen? What is going on? Blah, blah, blah. But that's a different video. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that we should be worried about this as Canadians as a playbook because the far left doesn't surrender authority. They don't give it up once they get it in their hands. They say, oh, we're all democratic. Let's follow the democratic process. They say a bunch of things that they think everybody wants to hear. Then people give them their vote, and then they turn around and remove all of your rights because they don't care about democracy. They don't care about it at all. They want authority. They're authoritarians. And when you have the population of the country saying, no, we don't believe you, get out now, he's like, let me put my army in the streets. Let me put my police in the streets. They have riot shields and guns and all the gas they'll ever need. And they got motorcycles. And I've seen it clips where there's tanks. So compare that to the way that the Justin Trudeau Liberals treat us and Jagmeet Singh's NDP treats us. Whenever we disagree with them, they completely ignore us. They say, no, we're not going to let you investigate us on all of our corruption. They make end runs that are political. They force through votes. They make the time limit on debate come to a screeching halt. They don't care what happens in committee because they own the press, so the press doesn't say anything. You don't think Maduro owns the press? You think that I had any of the main press coming out of Venezuela? These are all cell phone shots. These are all people who are just like, I have a Twitter account because they haven't turned off the internet yet. When you saw Justin Trudeau put horses in the streets, well, how hard is it to put motorcycles onto those same people that were riding those horses? Because they have taken away from you all of the things that you can use to defend yourself. They go after your bank account. They go after your car insurance. They go after your way of life. How far will they go to hold on to power? How far are they willing to go? And what comes next is the most part that I should have mentioned earlier. Because Maduro will say, well, it's an emergency. So I'm going to invoke the Emergencies Act, whatever it happens to be called in Venezuela. And as a result of that, I'm going to suspend the Constitution, which is exactly what the Liberal government did the last time. So now they want to make people who are not from this country, like have only been here a couple of months, give them the right to vote. They want to make all of these changes and all of this stuff. And Canadians are going to be fed up. They're going to say, no, we don't believe the election results. If the election results said that Justin Trudeau's Liberals won, we don't believe it, and everybody's going to be mad. Will he acquiesce? Will they bow out? Will they go far left totalitarian? Who can say? But I think that the playbook is there for all of us to see. I think that what we need to defend against is the possibility of this transpiring, of them not respecting the will of the Canadian people, of them thinking that because they have all of the might on their side, that they don't have to acquiesce to the demands of the people. I mean, it could be just my imagination getting the better of me. It could be a simple scenario. I'm not telling you that it's going to happen. I'm saying to you that this is something that we need to be aware of could happen because it's happening in Venezuela, the world's largest oil reserves and a country that has been mismanaged for the last 10 years. Everybody is broke. All of the same things that you hear about from all of these countries around the world. because the socialists don't know how to balance a budget, it seems, or they don't seem to understand that capitalism works. I mean, I can't tell you why. Maybe it's all coming out of parts of, Switzerland. I don't know. I do know that this is the kind of thing that has been happening in the history of the world. The people with all of the power keep the power, and they put the army in the streets. And I could show you 1,000 examples of this. And I could show you 100 examples from the last 25 years. It's not like it's a new thing. It's not a new phenomenon. I just think that we as Canadians have to be aware of the possibilities. And if you want to understand what you might be up against, then you can see it here. You can see how the will of the people is being ignored by the minority government. You can see how the will of the people are coming up against men with weapons. And there's no other way to call it that. They're not like they're saying, you know what, we are not going to turn our weapons on the people. They are standing there because they see their own jobs gone. So that's exactly something that we have to tackle. It's exactly how Justin Trudeau holds on to Jagmeet Singh, because he knows that if Jagmeet Singh knows that if he calls an election, he's probably going to lose his job. And these guys, they just can't let go of that. They can't bow out. They don't have the class or the grace, or I don't know what the word that they are lacking, but they are sure lacking enough so much that they will put the RCMP into the streets for people who are having barbecues and have parked a car. So, as Canadians, we have to start looking at how to protect ourselves. If nothing transpires, then we've protected ourselves, then we're protected. If we did do nothing and we need it, it's a problem. If we do something and we don't need it, oh well, no big deal. Isn't it better to err on the side of caution? You tell me. Is it better to be prepared for something that never transpires, or not to be ready for something that comes? You let me know down in the comments what your opinion is on that. I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you all for listening. I will talk to you next time.